Bring the level down. Test. Testing. Test. Low depth. Just want to make. It's always hard to tell how it's working. Thank you, everybody, for coming. How's everybody doing? It's quiet in here. Yeah, must be because of the weather that we had. A little storm. They had some hail in Scottsdale. That's what the talk was a little while ago. And snow in Flagstaff. Yeah. So it's interesting. So we have some, maybe some calming is due, because of the weather or something like that. And that's all good. I was out of town all week. I just got back the other day. I was in Oregon, just kind of vacationing it. So I feel pretty calm. You know how vacations are, they relax you and stuff like that. So it's all good. I'm hoping the streaming is working tonight. So I'm talking to you people here, but I'm also hoping I'm talking to the rest of the people that connected on. But it looks like the picture is working okay, but the audio might be having a little bit of problem, but I'm not sure. So it's hard to tell. But hopefully it's working all right. We had a couple little problems with the streaming the last few weeks, and some of you probably don't even know because you're not the streamers, but the streamers know because they weren't able to connect. So, and if you ever, throughout the week, if you want to, follow the meditation that we do here on Wednesday night, you can just go to the YouTube channel and follow that meditation if you like. Shane Wilson Meditation or Meditation Learning Center. Either way you'll get there. What I can do, I'm going to be sending out a newsletter, and I'll put the link on there so that everybody knows, what the link is, because it might be helpful, might be useful to be able to, to tune in and sit with everybody again. The streaming is something brand new that I don't think anybody's ever done it before, to stream a weekly meditation group like this. It's kind of, one of the guys, a local guy, he couldn't make it, and so he was sitting in front of his computer, meditating, and his son and one of his son's friend walked in, and they said, "I just don't get it," because they're watching me with my eyes closed, not moving. They couldn't tell whether it was technically frozen or what was going on. They just didn't understand. And so it's a little like if somebody tunes in to just watch a meditation, it's not going to be too exciting, but to actually participate, in the meditation itself is the idea, of course, to be able to sit and actually, do the process, the meditation process. So anyway, so hopefully the idea is that the streaming will be useful for people somewhere, somewhere in the world, and we'll see how it works out, as we go. But the first thing we got to do is get it out there. And like I said, last couple of weeks we had some problems with it, and hopefully this week it's all taken care of. And eventually we're going to get it so we can watch it on the screen up here too. Got some, with the summer rolling around, kind of gives us time to kind of look at some different things. We're going to be doing some more workshops. Last week I talked about, just briefly, about maybe doing a med talk. We've probably all heard about TED Talks, before. And we wanted to do talking about doing a med talk, where individuals get up and they have a theme, meditation or something related to meditation. And just kind of a fun evening where people give like a 10 or 15 minute presentation, and it'd be able to listen to about 6 people a night, probably, something like that. And so I'm kind of looking at doing some of that, depending on how many people are interested in being involved in that, to do a med talk. Does everybody follow what I'm saying? Everybody knows what TED Talk is?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I get probably get a lot of people honestly because they want to hear about
Meds.
meds. And then when they find out it's about meditation,
They'll go, meditation, yeah. And that's kind of contrary too, let's talk about meditation, what's that all about? Why don't we just do meditation? What's that got to do with talking? But it's meditation and the related things, Maybe somebody wanted to do a talk on the history of Buddhism or something like that, or how meditation has changed their life in some way or something. But we'll see how that comes about. And also we might be offering some Tai Chi and some yoga in this room, it's like small classes. Anybody practice yoga in here? Couple? Oh, you too might be here. And, but those are some things that have come up. So anyway, there'll be a newsletter coming out pretty soon, and if you want to receive that newsletter and you feel like I don't have your email address, you can put it on that little booklet out right there, kind of right behind Chris there. I don't know what else is new. We have the retreat coming up in Payson for Memorial Weekend. How many who signed up for that? Okay. I think the individual private rooms are all filled up, but there's still room to share, shared rooms. So if you're interested in that, we have brand new websites. Meditation Learning Center has a brand new website, and then the teacher training program has one too. It's not as connected to the Meditation Learning Center as it was before. It stands alone. And then as well as my personal website, that's a third website. So there are actually three different websites, and so it's a little bit easier to read and go through and that kind of thing. So if a person's just looking for Meditation Learning Center, they can go there without bumping into, the teacher training program, and then the personal work I do, therapy-wise. So check it out, sometime. But you'll see a newsletter, and I'll kind of remind you about that. And then the next one-day retreat looks like it will be at the end of June. And there's been a few people asking about that, so it'll be into June. I'm going to be doing some traveling in the first part of June and stuff like that, so it'll be at the later part. And that's it. And listen, and then when we're done meditating, we'll see if anybody has anything else to add or anything that I forgot, please let me know. But I'd kind of like to, I like to put out an invitation in regards to what to kind of look for and what kind of to work with in a way, in the area of meditation, for tonight's practice. And I would like to, have us take a look at something that is kind of interesting. I think it's interesting, and that is, how we believe our self-talk, how we believe our thoughts. And when we really tune into it, we can notice that a thought comes up, a thought arises, and for the most part, we believe it. Something as simple as, boy, my leg's really uncomfortable, and and then it's almost like, we agree with that thought and we have to do something about it right away. Or something like, that so-and-so said something today and it really made me mad, upset, and I'm still upset. And we believe that. We believe all these things that come back at us. And if we lean towards, I suggest that we lean towards not believing any of the stuff that comes up in our minds, not believing any of it, especially when we look at how much we hold ourselves back, from what we want to accomplish or do or be or have in life. Especially if it's something that is very moral and benefits other people. There's no reason why we should believe that we can't do something or shouldn't be doing something. Of course, there's a part of the mind that we can use for training and cultivating positive things, and we should, of course, be listening to that. But I'm kind of referring to, being very, very open about the possibility that we're believing a lot of garbage, within our own mind. I can't speak for everybody, but it seems that it could be an apparent situation for a lot of us. And in the area of meditation, or in Buddhism, the things that the only thing really that we should trust and honor are the insights. And even the insights of the Buddha, from everything from the Four Noble Truths to the Eightfold Path to, all these wonderful teachings that he did, it's not good enough for us to believe them based on blind faith. We really have to investigate these things. And so it's like all these insights that the Buddha had to teach us, we have to turn those into our own personal insights. So we have to really, take a look at what is coming up in the mind. And as far as knowing what an insight is, like what the truth is, and when a person says the truth, and when they say an insight, they're the same thing. And how do we know that something is the truth or an insight? It's usually felt within the body. And if it isn't felt within the body, we get kind of confused. So in other words, if we hear something that we believe and that that is provides a great amount of clarity, it's something that we agree with, that is the truth for us. We feel it within the body in such a way that we feel lighter, we feel free, kind of liberated somehow, through the muscular system. If it's not the truth, we feel tense. We can feel tense or kind of unease, like kind of confused. How that confusion, I'm doing this on purpose, but that confusion feeling doesn't feel right. But when we hear something or something comes up, that is the truth for us, we feel, very free, loose, you could say. And so we should kind of honor that and kind of get used to that. And meditation can be the training ground for that. So when something, when we sit in meditation and we focus on the breath or, whatever our meditation object might be, notice this self-talk. We can call it self-talk, or we can just call it our thoughts, and notice how we actually believe a lot of this stuff, where probably shouldn't be believing it. Shouldn't be trusting, all these thoughts that come up. And I think it's healthier not to believe these things than it is to believe them. Everybody know what I mean?
What do you think about
Positive affirmations are good. We talked about, and I can't remember if it was last week or not, but something that is similar to that I'm very much a fan of is thought replacement. And a lot of times I use the mala as an example of thought replacement, and it's just in the form of words. Like if we have something that's going on in the mind, some negativity that we just can't get rid of, something that happened. It could be something that happened recently or something that happened months ago, that breakup or something like that, that partner that we lost due to a stupid fight, or something. And we feel bad about it, we can't shake it. And it just keeps coming back, and all of a sudden it's a habit, a habitual thinking process that is not good for us, because it's causing stress, causing difficulties for us. And very similar to affirmations, or even like a mantra, is to, and you wouldn't have to have a mala like this, but if you just replace all those thoughts with positive words, and then this is a 21 bead mala. So if I would go through this and say a positive word like love, compassion, and just do it with the breath, do it real flowing, generosity, love. If you can't think of a word, you can just repeat another one again. And, joy, blissfulness, and then what you're doing is you're training the mind to come up with these positive things. And by the time you go through that, it takes about 2 minutes to get through that. And then after the end of those 2 minutes, you just look at that. You look at what's in your mind, and you go, the negative stuff is gone. That doesn't mean it's not going to come back, but it's not going to come rushing back. You can kind of see it coming back and go, oh, there it is again. Then you can try this again. And it really does work. You don't have to be meditating to do it. You can, that kind of thing can be used when you're walking or hiking or, anything. As long as you, and like I said, you don't need the mala. You can just, anything to get yourself to kind of force yourself and get yourself into a flow to say these positive, moral and good words, and it changes the thoughts. Very much like mantra. Thanks, Tim. We better get to doing some meditation here before we lose interest in the meditation. Get kind of wordy. I had a lot of room up here for some reason. I didn't have my bell. And there's a few of you that haven't been here before. The technique that I generally use is I often do a little bit of guiding meditation before we do the silent meditation. And the guiding, usually lasts for 10 or 15 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes shorter. But the guiding itself can be beneficial for meditation instructions if a person is not sure what to do with their meditation practice, that they're fairly new to it. Or if they just want to use the sound as their meditation object until they get, kind of comfortable and relaxed. And it's a good way to do it. And then I usually do talk about the breath a lot. And the reason for that is because the breath is a wonderful meditation object itself. And in fact, the Buddha said the breath can take us all the way. We don't have to change our meditation object if we use the breath. But some people have other objects, and that's fine too. But when I refer to the breath, I just refer to your meditation object. So please make yourself comfortable. Just take a moment and thank yourselves for being here this evening. Meditation is a wonderful way for us to get to know ourselves, and a way for us to really understand the mind, which means that it's not just our mind, but the mind of all in this oneness. When we close our eyes and sit in meditation, the first thing that we notice generally is the body and how the body feels. The body is a tool that brought us here, and it's the tool that we're using right now to kind of focus on, because it's the grosser aspect of who we believe we are, the body and the mind. And when we have sensations within the body, those can often looked at as feelings of different types, pleasantness that we feel in the body, unpleasantness that we feel within the body. So this is like the bridge between the body and the mind, these feelings, pleasant, unpleasant, and many, many neutral feelings as well. Every time that we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, there's a feeling that's connected with that. There's always feelings present. They're always there. And there's so much of it actually that we miss a lot of it. These feelings along with the states and the moods and emotions that we have are really a big part of our world. For some people it's the entire world. Going from one feeling to the next, to one mood, one emotion, one state, trying to sustain a state or trying to diminish a state. And these are really the going-ons of the mind. And all of this is connected to our thoughts. And we know as humans that thoughts can make us or break us. A pleasant thought can really encourage us and inspire us to to live life to its fullest, where a negative thought can just crush us. And meditation allows us to be sensitive to all of this in such a way that we kind of get the upper hand on it all. Almost like it's a second, another party watching it, watching all the activity of the thoughts and the feelings and the states. Just kind of seeing all of this as a soup. That is putting a little bit of this in there and a little bit of that in there, seeing what comes up. And actually that is the zest of life. That's what makes life as interesting at times and charming at times, wonderful, sometimes negative. But this is the change, the impermanence that the Buddha talked about so much. And without this change, without these different feelings, these different states, regardless of whether they're all pleasant or all negative, life would really be quite a bore for us. We can't sustain a single state without being bored or without being getting overexcited or depressed for too long of a time. We need that change, in other words. We need different tastes and different experiences in order for us to be fulfilled. And so again, the invitation to watch this and not necessarily believe it all, but watch it almost like we're a bystander watching a movie. How things are projected on the screen. We watch a movie screen or a TV when there's nothing on it. We know that it's just a screen. Nothing fancy or nothing exciting about it, but then when something's projected on it, we start to believe it. We get emotional, we get this feeling, we get excited and sometimes fearful, and happy and sad, and all these different emotions come up because of this projection on a screen. And we believe it. And that's why we hate commercials. In a movie, the commercial comes on, and then we realize that it's just a movie or a TV show, and we lose our belief in it. We come back to reality. And so when our thoughts keep going like this movie projector in the mind, as long as we know that it's just a projection, and we have an option of whether to actually believe it and embrace it, or just to watch it. And in that watching, of course, as we get an upper hand on it, we start to understand and figure things out on our own. And then also the truth of the matter comes up, the insight of the matter. And much of this is mindfulness and awareness. And much of it is just memory to be able to do this. So when we're sitting in meditation, we bring our attention to the breath, and we can feel the breath on the body. And this is our anchor. It's not that the thoughts are going to stop or that feelings and states are not going to be there, but we have an opportunity to notice them more, to be with them, to experience them. And perhaps more importantly, to watch them, to see them for what they are. We're not to follow the thoughts. We're not to follow any ideas or try to create anything or change anything in meditation. We're to focus on our meditation object, such as the breath. And then as these things arise on their own, we're just kind of checking them out. And we can ask ourselves, do I actually believe this? Or do I believe that I should be looking at this in the way I am, or should I be working with this right now? And if we can do that in our meditation, then we can do that in our everyday life. Notice what arises in our mind in that area of thoughts and thinking, feelings and states, sensations. And do we believe them? Do we believe the information that is coming out of them? So by focusing on the breath and using this as our foundation, the mind wanders off, and rather than allowing this to happen, we just gently bring it back, bring our attention, very light focus, back to the breath. And then we notice that this whole process happens again. And that's a part of the practice. We just notice. Notice if anything's reoccurring again the same way and why that might be. Whether our attention goes into the past or the future, why that might be. Or if we're fortunate enough, why is our mind staying present? And how wonderful that is to have that experience. But even in that presence, that joy that we can find in this presence, there's still a shift, very slight shift between the states and the feelings that are just kind of moving around within that itself. Nothing is static, everything is constantly changing. And again, that's the zest of life. That's the part of life that we find interesting, the change. Everybody have a copy of this? This is the Loving Kindness Sutra. Can you see with the lights low back there? Can you see okay? Most of you back there have this memorized. So. Yeah. So we'll recite this together. To attain a state of peace, one skilled in goodness should be able, upright, perfectly upright, gentle in speech, kind, and free from pride, contented, easily satisfied, with limited duties, and unburdened livelihood. Discreet senses, discreet, reserved, and not blindly attached to groups. One should not commit the slightest wrong that the wise might censor, wishing, may there be happiness and security, may all beings be happy. Whatever beings there are, whether feeble or strong, tall or short, large, medium, or small, microscopic or mammoth, leaving none. Seen or unseen, living near or far away, born or to be born, may all beings be happy. Let one not deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither in anger nor in ill will should one wish another harm. Just as a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so, one should cultivate a limitless concern for all living beings. Extend loving kindness throughout the world without whether standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, one should diligently sustain this mindfulness. This is called sublime living. Without holding narrow views, but being endowed with broad vision and avoiding attachment to sense desires, the virtuous are not born again into this world. May each one of us and all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to us. May no difficulties come to us. May we all meet with spiritual and worldly success. And may we have the patience, courage, and understanding to meet and overcome any problems or difficulties that we might face in life. Thank you. We have a few minutes set aside, to discuss a few things and see if what comes up or what doesn't come up. And to share whatever. And we'll be done here in about 20 minutes. So, a very nice meditation is very quiet. I didn't hear much moving around or anything. It was really, really, really good. I hope you're able to kind of use some of what I said earlier about, not taking the thoughts too seriously, and it affects our meditation when we start meditating. It seems like for many of us we might be kind of diligent and focusing on our meditation object and everything is good, and then we start relaxing into it. Then two things can happen. Either that relaxation allows us to sit in that presence and really take advantage of the clarity of mind that comes up. And for some of us, it might be the opposite, where the mind just kind of takes off on its own and a little bit hard to control it. And maybe it's some kind of a habit that we have allowed to happen, throughout our lives, just letting the mind go. And what I was referring to earlier, in the guided aspect of the meditation was that we can learn to watch, the activity of the mind and be the seer of it, be the one that, be that awareness that is aware of all that activity, that mental activity. And when we're able and remember to do that, it can really be a benefit. And hopefully, that happened in your meditation where you're able to utilize some of that, take advantage of that. Also, I talked a lot about feelings and mind states and how these play a part in our meditation and also play a big role in our life, of course. There's always a feeling and always a mind state present all of the time. And there's nothing we can do about that aspect, but what we can do is be aware of it. And that it's like we go through this cycle of we see or we sense something in the world, and with every time that we sense, through the seeing and smelling and touching and even the thought process, there's a feeling that comes up at that time, and it's constantly changing. Good feeling, bad feeling, sometimes very neutral feeling, but it's always there. Right now there's a feeling, and if we can be aware of that, we don't have to react to that. And that, a lot of times that's what we can look at as, being, just kind of being okay with what is, and understanding that the preferences that we have in life are those moments that we're not content, we're not fine. Because we want something to be a different way. We want a feeling to be a different way. And it's true with states too. And states are, these mental, when we think of something, or when we do something, or if there's a lot of continuation of negative feelings or continuation of positive feelings, a state kind of establishes itself within us. And we often see them as moods or emotions, like a good mood or a bad mood, or some kind of emotion that we have in regard to something. And those are present all the time too. We can ask ourselves right now, what state am I experiencing? Because there's one there. So we just put a label on it. And when we do that, of course, we're very, very mindful. But also, when we do that, we are stepping away from it. We're seeing that that state could have control over us, but it doesn't have to. As soon as we start identifying it, and I'm not saying that we should go around in our lives identifying our states, but in a way, it really produces a lot of mindfulness for us. Be very mindful of what is happening. Why am I angry? Why am I happy? Why am I worried about this and that? And when we ask that, we really start to understand, who we are beyond that worry, beyond that stress, that dukkha, that the Buddha was talking about. Dukkha is like the squeaky wheel in a grocery cart. Just like, this just bothers me, and I don't want that, You know what I'm talking about, the squeaky wheel in a grocery cart? When you got 1,000 carts there and you grab the one with the squeakiest wheel, and you're going through a very quiet grocery store. Squeak, 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 squeak. And that's dukkha. That's that suffering that we have, when we're just not content, But with me, I just have to turn off my hearing aid and I'm fine, I don't have to worry about that squeaking. So there's always a state present, there's always a feeling present. They're usually connected from our outer worldly experiences. That's when we notice them the most. through seeing and hearing, smelling and tasting, touching, but also with the thoughts themselves. If we have a negative thought, often what follows is a negative state. It doesn't have to, but it can. Often does. And so to be the one that is aware of all of this is a opportunity for awakening for us, to notice these things. It's not difficult. The difficult part is to stay with it, to stay with the program. And it's like meditation, the consistency. I had lunch with one of my students that's been with me for years, and he said today was his 133rd day and of meditating, in a row. And he said that he really has noticed a difference. And because he said that he wasn't meditating much on the weekends because him and his wife were very, very close. Not like a lot of people. I'm just kind of kidding, but when over the weekend, they plan their weekends and they're together a lot and they spend a lot of time together. So he doesn't always meditate on the weekends, but he found a way to, through Insight Timer, through the app Insight Timer, to do the meditation, and even if it's 10 minutes, he's still doing like a short meditation each day. Not necessarily always getting in the posture, he was saying, but sometimes just like sitting at his desk, he'll go, oh, I'm going to meditate for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever it is. And then he sets his Insight Timer. Everybody know what Insight Timer is? Yeah. You use Insight Timer? Yeah, okay. But it helps keep track of your days and the consistency. I mean, how many days that you practice in a row, and the consistency. And that consistency is very, very important, even, for very many reasons, whether we're not always going to have a perfect meditation. I know some of you do, but, we're not always going to have that perfect sit, but probably the bad sits are the ones where we learn the most, the most about ourselves. And so whether we're having a good day or a bad day or whatever, we should still do that meditation. I think most of us do, don't we? Meditate every day. If we're honest, if we're super honest, there's some super honest people out there going, nope. Everybody misses a day from time to time, but you can try to rack up those points, like that student of mine that I'm talking about. He uses the Insight Timer, and he wants every day to have a meditation on it. That's just what he wants. And it's kind of, you could look at it as like, what kind of game is that, or is that ego, or what is it, but it's, is it attachment, to the practice? Maybe you could look at it that way too, but he said it definitely does benefit him.
Isn't there just like a cumulative benefit that occurs?
I think so.
On a daily practice?
Yeah. Yeah, and then we notice the benefits, the cumulative benefits, and it's like a feedback. We want to do it more and more. We just want to do it. If we do it every day, it becomes easy and it's effortless. But with that, we become the watcher of this stuff. And when we become the watcher of this stuff, we become less personalized with it. We become less attached to the mind body, and we become freer. We become liberated. There's a analogy that the Buddha used with the attachment to the self and the body and stuff. But he compared it to But if there was no string here, you could push one bead and it wouldn't affect the other ones, right? They would be individual beads. So that string is like the attachment, that we have. And that attachment can be likened to our attachment, to the body, attachment to everything, that we think and do, and even from not only this lifetime but past lifetimes too. In a string of beads where a great number of beads are strung together by a strong silk thread, if one bead is pulled, all the other beads follow that one that is pulled. But if the silk thread is cut or removed, pulling one of the beads will not disturb the other beads because there's no longer any attachment, between them all, the string. Similarly, a being that possesses personality belief, which is the ego, harbors a strong attachment to the series of aggregates arisen during past existences. So, not only this life, but in past lives, just a continuation. And transforms them into an ego. So again, a being that possesses personality belief harbors a strong attachment to a series of aggregates arisen during past existences and transforms them into an ego. It is thus that the innumerable unwholesome karmic actions of the past existences, which have not been produced, has not produced the results, will accompany that being wherever they may be reborn. These unwholesome actions of the past resemble beads that are strung and bound together by a strong thread. That strong thread is a strong attachment to these bad karma, these bad karmic actions that we've done. And so the next step, however, beings who clearly perceive the characteristic of non-self and have rid themselves of personality belief will perceive that the body and mental aggregates that have arisen and disappear even without the short period of one sitting. Even within the short period of one sitting, one meditation practice, do so as a separate phenomena and not as closely interlinked continuum. The concept of myself, which is like the thread, is no longer present. Those bodily and mental processes appear to them like the beads from which the thread has been removed altogether. So that thread is no longer keeping the beads together or our karmic actions. So without the identity of I did this, I'm going to do this, this is the me and my and all of that concept. Without that, it disintegrates the threads that hold all this negative karma within us. And we become freer and lighter, I think it's a wonderful analogy. We experience that when we're happy, when we're laughing. We get lighter, we get freer. It's almost like all that karma is we can feel that karma being lifted off, I never heard that analogy before, and I ran into it today. I thought it was interesting about the thread and how we can be attached. All these beads, like actions, actions that we've done in the past, the things that we feel, I wish I wouldn't have done that, or I am so worried about this or that. Why did I do that, or why do I have to be a part of that? Why do I have to experience the I, the me, the my that's involved in all of this? And you remove the thread and the beads just, they fly, disperse, boom. Any comments, any questions?
Yeah, wouldn't you then want to string your own necklace of good stuff?
But that's attachment. Yeah, well, you should be able to cut the thread and not feel bad about it, you know? You're kind of, you're seeing it, you know, like there's a monk, he had a practice, he had two containers, you know, two containers like this. No, I take that back, he had one container, I'm getting confused here. He had one container and he had a pile of black stones and a pile of white stones, and he would, at the end of the day, this was his practice, where he would think of all the good, all the things that he did today and all the thoughts he had. If he had a negative thought or did a negative thing, he would take a black stone and put it, you know, put it in there. Boom. If he did a good thing, he would take a white stone and put it in there. And his goal was to have all white stones in there and have all the black ones laying there. And then while he was, you know, he would do that every night, and he would think about that, started thinking about it during the day. Well, I'm not going to do that. That's a black stone, you know. I'm going to do this instead. That's a white stone. And then at the end of the day, and eventually he had all white stones in there. So if you could string a necklace with all those white stones and not have the black stones in there, then you could use good thread, right? That's what Tim is talking about, yeah. But if you have all black stones, you don't want to have attachment to that negativity or anything.
So this is just about changing your jewelry.
It's about, yeah, changing your wardrobe, right? Yeah. Lots of stories. Anything else from anybody? Very talkative bunch here tonight, I tell you.
So that string, it represents the attachments that we have to things that we have done.
The self, and the idea is that that's what creates the self and this ego and the discomfort that's a part of it. If we didn't have any of that discomfort, you know, being human, and we can feel that within us, you know, when we're happy and we feel complete, there's very little ego there. And if we can keep that up, that's the liberation, you know, that's the liberation that we're talking about. The view of the self is, you know, the selfless view is an awakening experience. That's the very first step. That's the first hindrance, you know, to go. And then, you know, without that self view, our life is really centered around, you know, helping other people. And for example, in the Mahayana tradition, the Bodhisattva would have eliminated their self view or the selfing altogether. And there you have it. I think that's about all I got. Anything from anybody at all? We have a few new people here, and thank you for coming. Have you been here before, John?
Mm-hmm.
You've never been in this room before. Thank you for coming. What? Pardon me?
Not since you switched over here.
Yeah.
And
You never been in?
for other things, but when they had carpet in here and just this.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, since we changed a lot since then. I couldn't remember if I saw you here or not.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, thanks. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, and let's see. There's a meditation tomorrow night at the temple. You know, I think Paul's running that. There's another one on Friday night, the Dharma of Recovery meeting here. Sunday, I don't know if there's a Sunday afternoon. I don't know if that's every other week class that meets.
Yes, that's this Sunday.
Is it this Sunday? No mud, no lotus. But that's kind of a closed group. But if anybody's interested in getting into that, just look at the meetup. And
And your Saturday class is gonna be here rather than at the temple, right?
is that this week?
I don't know.
I better check into that. I'll send everybody an email. I will send out. Everybody will see an email from the Meditation Learning Center and from myself. So you'll probably see. Some of you will see a couple of different emails this week. I haven't been sending too many emails out lately, but be a little bit more consistent with that.
But you're right, you know, it might be the Saturday just before the full moon, so it might be not this.
I think so. I'll double check though. Yeah, I'll double check.
I can't remember now.
I'll let everybody know. So thank you all very much for coming. Have a good evening.